Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Power Hour. It's time to talk runners. It's time to talk running. Yes, there's been a major championship already, and it was the Monaco Grand Prix that was on. And one of the beautiful stories coming out of there was the world record setting run in the 5,000 meters by the Ugandan athlete. Now, it's not very often we talk about records, in the long distance, because that takes a long time to come around. And it's only when, some freak of nature kind of athlete comes along and they go out and they show us how to do it. But one thing is certain, for a time to come down, speed would have been involved in the equation, and involved to a very, very big extent. Now, speed is not exactly something that middle distance runners or long distance runners spend too much time on, as a skill, that is. It's something they can come back to or not, or something that they pick up along the need thereof. But to help me negotiate this whole concept of speed in middle distance running especially, is my guest here, the European silver medalist 800 meters under 20s, Ellie Becker. Ellie Becker, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Good show. I have your race, by the way. The race in Grosseto in Italy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show the viewers, what went on in there.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, I think you attacked it well. You laid it from the front, as it were. No holding back there. It was, and yeah. You made speed count. But before we get to it, how did you get to that stage? How did Ellie Becker get involved with the track and field and 800 meters for that matter?
Well, I think I've always just been an absolute nut job of a kid. I was crazy. I was running here, there, everywhere, and my family couldn't keep up with me. There's many times they took me on holiday and they'd find me a mile down the beach with another family and have to chase after me constantly. So I think I've always had like a lot of energy from a young age. So I just had a lot of energy. So my mum and dad thought, oh, how can we burn some of this energy? And so we're not having to monitor her. They literally did shifts on me all the time to watch where I'm going. So they sent me in for a local fun run just where I live. And I did it with my sister, and my sister is not athletic, but we was all made to do it. Our parents just wanted to burn some energy, so we all got put in for it. My sister was running with me, but she had enough, and she just decided to sit on a wall and had enough of the whole 5K. And I was so conscious of my time. I was like, come on, Chloe, we've got to go. And in the end, I think I was only about 8, and I just left her and I just carried on running, and I come back like first girl, and my parents were like, what the hell, how she managed that? Like she's got back first. And I think from then we kind of knew I had something with running was good with me. So they was like, oh, maybe we should sign her up to like the local club, and I started doing a few running sessions like that. But that's kind of how it started. Mum and dad just wanted to burn some of my energy.
That's really interesting there. Very incidental. Many people get into track and field or road running or whatever form of running that they do from various angles and for various reasons. And in this case, it was to try and slow you down, and yet that in itself catapulted you into actually doing just the opposite. Get on the run and get involved with it. Tell me, how did that look like in your high school days then? How did that shape up?
So I think I started running at a club in about year 6, like properly. And it was all a bit of fun, really. Like, I just enjoyed it. And then I started doing better and better through maybe small cross country races or small track meets, YDLs and things like that. And I started to really enjoy it. And then I started to take it more serious each year. And I was never really one of them kids that would like really enjoy going to a house party or something like that. That's never something I wanted to do. So I just always set my mind to what I wanted to do, and I would not mind about missing out on house parties and gatherings and things like that, because it wasn't what was going to get me to where I wanted to be. And from a young age, I thought, no, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to give 100% to this. And yeah, so that's kind of the mentality I had through high school.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about then. Any races at high school that you remember? What was that? The high schools normally they do have their own leagues and schools leagues, county championships and national championships within within the age groups of the schools. Anything there that you'd like to share?
Yeah, there was a lot of good girls in Hertfordshire that would push me, and I didn't always win to begin with. I would come, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and things like that. But I was always up there. But there was a lot of fast girls. I remember there was a girl called Abby West, and she just dominated every cross country, every race, and we just all had no chance against her. And then gradually, as the years went on, we all kind of developed at different rates and things like that. And I started to get more success as I got older towards the end, and there was definitely a big shift when I kind of changed my training and I changed coach, and he actually used a lot of like biomechanics and things like that, because I was a hill striker, and it seemed when I changed from being a hill striker to actually running on the front of my foot or the ball of my foot, there was a massive difference in my time. So that's kind of where it changed over.
Okay. Now, cheers for that one. And you did compete at English schools, did you not?
Yes. I did compete at English schools. I basically ran there for 4 years in a row, and I made the team for 4 years. And the first year I did the 1500, and it was horrible. We went to this university, and I've never stayed anywhere like that before. Usually be in a hotel, and we had a sink that gurgled in our room the whole night, like in a tiny university room. The food was like horrendous, and I remember I starved myself the whole weekend because I didn't want to eat in the canteen, and I had no energy, and I literally got knocked out of my heat on the first day. And my dad was like, what was happening there? You was running so well last week. And then I told him I wouldn't eat the food, and that was a big learning curve for me, because ever since, whatever was given on my plate, I ate because I needed the energy. That was the first time, my first year, and I think I learned a lot that year to take me on for the next few years. So the year after, I moved to the 800 because I thought, no, 1500 is too long for me. That's not my event. So I went to do the 800, and I was first year under 17, and I came 3rd in 2:07, which was very fast. I just turned 15, and that was a very, I think I was in the top 2 of the UK at my age group that year. So only because I was a year younger, I come 3rd. But yeah, so that was that. And then the year after, I come 2nd in the 800 meters, and then my final year, I won. So it kind of went like this as a progression. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was a good development trajectory as it were there. Learning in the process, which is what, as a developing athlete, one would like to get exposed to all those challenges in order to accelerate the development.
Yes, definitely.
As it were. Tell me about the events. When we run, sometimes we just run. When did it come to you to decide, well, maybe not 100 meters, maybe not 3,000 meters, maybe, somewhere in between. And how did you arrive at that?
So, because at the start, all I had done was a 5K fun run. So, as I was developing and I joined a club, my dad said, look, let's go to this open meet. It was in Welling. We went down to the track and he entered me for the 100 meters and he entered me for the 1,500 meters. And I'm like, well, let's see what I'm good at. So I went in for the 100 meters. It was terrible. I come second from last, if not last, and absolutely couldn't get out quick enough. So that I crossed the line and I said, that's not my event. And so after that, he was like, right, in for the 1,500, let's see how you go. And I think I come about third. So I was thinking, that's a lot more positive, I'll take that. So ever since I thought, I'll be a middle distance runner since that day.
Yeah. No, good show. Good show. Now, to develop as a middle distance runner, it takes a lot of work. And by that, I mean volumes of work, because there's only one way to be an endurance runner is to do a lot of endurance work, and when you get into a setup, a structure, a club structure, you find that's what the nature of the work is. It's voluminous.
Yeah.
What was your first experience with that, coming into a club setup and having decided now I want to do middle distance run, and then, okay, this is the training for middle distance. We run. That's what we do.
So probably when I was younger, my coaches from a young age were actually really aware of my age and, the rate of development and how hard to push a body when they're young. And I actually got very lucky that I didn't have anyone, because a lot of coaches, they run their athletes into the ground from a young age and then you never hear of the athlete again because they've just completely burnt them out. But I just think I was quite lucky to not have a setup like that. I wasn't like pushed with miles and miles. I was more given, longer sessions, but maybe 200, but many reps. So maybe like 10 reps of 200 would be what they gave me, so that my turn of speed was still there, but I wasn't killing myself with miles and miles and just becoming slow. But I was still getting quite a large amount of volume, but quality. I was quite lucky. I wasn't actually thrown in the deep end with the mileage, but definitely as I've got older, I've realised I need to do a bit more running to have my aerobic system ready to race as well, because it's a very hard and fine line between doing too much endurance and not enough, and too much speed and not enough. So we just work on half speed, half endurance, and kind of merge it all together at the moment.
Yeah. No, good show with that one. And there you go. You've done your English schools, if I may take you back to that end. You've done your English schools and you've, gone on that very good development trajectory, coming in for the first time and not even finishing the race because you didn't have energy, because you didn't like the food, you didn't like the place. Fourth year, coming around to actually win. Win the race and decide, this is me, this is my distance, and this is what Ellie Baker wants to do. When did you decide you want to be a professional athlete, or track and field was going to be your mainstay? How did you decide that? At what point?
I don't know. I feel like maybe since primary school, I've just known that I wanted to do this, which is quite a young age to know that you want to do something as big as this. But I would watch races with my brother on TV. We'd watch the Olympics when it was on, and I'd just get so inspired by the athletes on the television. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. Like, I'd say it to my parents, like, that's what I want to do. And they were like, okay, yeah. And then I think once I get something in my head, I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I think I just had tunnel vision from quite a young age. And I never ever let myself get downhearted. So I didn't start running and win. I just set myself lots of little goals. And my dad was really quite good with that. So we would do little league cross country, and he would say, right, this week beat that girl because she beat you last week. So then my marker would be that girl, and I'd try and beat her, and I'd have lots of little markers to get to the big races. So I think I just was always on a mission to be better and see how good I can get, and how if I could get myself to the stage where I could actually do this as a career. And I think the turning point was definitely when I was about 14, because it was more of a dream before. But then when I started doing well at the English schools and things like that, and I was running really fast for my age group, I really loved that feeling. So I just wanted that feeling again. I loved the feeling of winning, and I just thought, no, like that's what makes me feel good. That's what I enjoy. And it wasn't a chore. Like I enjoyed going out and doing that. So that's when I kind of decided this is what I want to do.
Yeah, good job. Now, this is normally what happens when an athlete decides this is what I like to do. You know, for some reason there is a disparity between what I want to do and where I am. And there are hurdles in there, and injury is usually the one big head of that. When you are planning to be a major athlete, or a professional athlete, this is not something that you are aware of.
No,
What was your experience with that? How?
I definitely wasn't warned about injuries because I'd never experienced them, and no one ever says, oh, like you could face this until you're actually facing it. And I never was injured for quite a while. I just, when you're young and a kid, you're quite robust and your body deals with things well. And then as I started developing and getting older in my teenage years, I had actually, before my English schools final, I had quite a lot of problems with my knees and things like that, and it took a few months to get them right. It was like my IT band had got tight, but because I hadn't been told about rest, recovery, rolling, keeping on top of your body, I would just be training and my muscles would be getting tighter and tighter and tighter until there's like a sharp pain and I can't run through it. So a lot of it is like the lack of knowledge about keeping on top of the body and making sure that, if you're rolling and you're doing all the right things and getting massage, you're unlikely to get injured because you're keeping on top of everything. Well, I never knew about anything like that. So my first trouble was like I had a really sharp pain in my knee because of my IT band getting tight. I got through that quite quickly. So that was just like a snippet of, a bit of pain, and then that was it. And I thought, oh, like it's not too bad. And then after English schools, I kind of plateaued for about 3 years where I just couldn't get any faster than 2:07, which is because I was having trouble running through pain. And it was my peroneal tendon had got so tight that every time I ran on it, my foot felt like it was broken, which sounded really dramatic, but apparently it gets very painful once that gets tight. Your foot like just can't function. So I was getting all these terrible pains, and I was thinking, I've done something really bad here. And I was getting scans, nothing come up on the scans. And it was just like, almost you'd rather something come up so you know what it is, you can deal with it. But nothing was coming up. So I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me, that I can't run through this pain. And then it kind of got to the point where I just was like losing the will to live with it, because I just was like, I just want to run and I can't run. So I was like cross training, which is very boring. So I was just trying to manage it as best I could. And then I saw an osteopath that I still use today, who really made a big difference with my injury. And just by realigning some of my body, it did take a lot of the pain away, which was brilliant. And he's called Gordon Bosworth, and I still work with him. He's very good for my body and knowing how it should work and look. So it's very good to get like a team that know exactly what they're doing and how your body's meant to look and everything like that, which I never knew anything about from a young age. And then I think I'd had enough, because it still wasn't progressing as quickly as I'd wanted. I wanted to be running that season and it just wasn't happening. And then my dad got in contact with Stan and we started working together, and you kind of just changed my mechanics again and just made sure that, I was running like correctly and not looping out, because I think I used to have an overstride, and I think I just wasn't efficient at all.
Listen here, Ellie. That's an interesting bit of your story there. I'll give you a break, have some water. When we come back, let's pick out what exactly got your dad and yourself, to think, oh, there's more that we need to do, in addition to what your osteopath Gordon was doing.
Mm-hmm.
When we come back, let's hear what your thoughts are on that.
Hello.
You got your breath back?
Yes. It's like another workout today. No, it's good.
It's like running 300s, right?
I know. Can't breathe. It's like when someone tries to talk to you when you're doing a run and you're like
Anyway, there you are. You have realized this pain is not going away in your knee.
Yeah.
And then between you and your dad decide to go and see an osteopath.
Yeah.
A very important healthcare practitioner in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
Which I would recommend all athletes to have, the healthcare team around them.
Definitely.
So you go to Gordon, who's an osteopath, and provides you. What about working with Gordon, your osteopath, provided you with further insight as to what else you needed to do based on his findings on your, the findings that he did on your body relative to the injury and the pain that you had had for, you say, possibly 3 years?
Yeah, so I tried everything, and it was about 9 months of complete not being able to run, and it was just like, it was really upsetting, but I never gave up and I never lost hope, because I'd made my mind up that's what I wanted to do. So, I went to see Gordon, and he was very good at, because I'd been to a lot of physios, I'd been to a lot of other people who I just didn't get any relief after seeing. I just felt the same, my runs felt the same, and he was the first person that actually treated my injury, and I was like, wow, like that was the first run I didn't have pain after and things like that. So I knew that he was very knowledgeable and knew how to get the body realigned and work how it's meant to work. But he said, I can keep doing these exercises with you, and you will get better for a short period of time, but if you don't change things in your style, it's just going to keep coming back. And so he noticed, when I would be doing strides or anything, he would want me to do in front of him so he could see the way I moved. He noticed that I overstrided quite a lot, and he said, you're reaching and you're not economical enough. So he said, you need to go and find, a speed drill specialist or, a mechanic specialist to try and, get your legs going under your hips, not in front, so you're not reaching and just causing pain to your body. And so from that, he kind of told me, you need a soft tissue therapist, you need to go and get the speed specialist, and you need to come and see me. So that was right, I've got to go and find my team now to try and get me back to where I've got to be. So we had Gordon for my osteopath, and then I actually went to Perfect Balance and found Aaron Trim, who was amazing for my sports massage. He would make sure my muscles were in perfect condition for sessions. And then we found Stan. So Stan completely changed the way I was running, so that I was running without pain, and I was hitting under my hip and not overstriding, and not, because I used to, my leg used to come so far back rather than pushing straight through. And I definitely saw a massive difference and had no pain, you know, within a couple of months. I've been through 9 months of hell, and then just by changing a couple of things, you know, the difference was just crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. It was a pleasure working with you, and to bring about that biomechanical and neuromechanical intervention. And the one thing that I found there working with you was your receptivity to what other young athletes would find a bit boring, because they just want to run.
Yeah.
It's something that does not involve running. It sounds a bit contradictory to what they want to do.
Yeah.
Here, this is, you're not even going beyond 5 meters, and this guy is saying, this is what we're going to do. What was the experience with that? What did you think about it, initially?
I think I just bought into you. I just thought, no, he knows what he's doing. And I was like, he's going to get me better. So I'm just going to do everything that he says for me to do to get myself, firing on all cylinders. And you definitely changed my approach to so many things. We changed practically my whole warm-up. So we changed everything, really. And I was feeling a lot better. I felt like I was running a lot better. But to begin with, we wasn't actually doing a lot of running. It was very, a lot of drills under my hips, trying to get, the right. It was kind of trying to pattern me again, like repattern the wrong things. And I found that whatever you said I was going to do, because I'm going to give this a good go. So.
Yeah, it was. Indeed it was. If you had to say something, after it's coming from injury, it's a difficult one, because in their mind, doing well is when they are running and performing. And for most athletes, if there's a PB, then I'm doing well. But if there's no running and there's no such indicators as a PB, and yet you are training for months on end, you as an athlete, you probably want to say, oh, let me see how I'm improving. What can I use to measure if this is working or not?
Mm-hmm.
How did you deal with it yourself? Because, like I said, there wasn't too much running when we started off. What was it in your mind that kept feeding your motivation, that like a PB would do to you? All right, yes, I'm on the right track. What would it do with you when you're doing neuromechanical training or speed skill training? And what fed into you to motivate you to want to continue to do that?
So I made a long-term goal about I was going to try and aim to get to the under 20 Europeans in 2017, and that goal was quite a way away. It was probably a year and a half, 2 years that we set that goal, and I thought, I'm going to do everything in my power now to make sure that this doesn't happen again and this injury doesn't reoccur, because if I'm going to make that championship, I'm going to have to be firing on all cylinders and taking everything, just doing everything right up until that point if I was going to make it. And I just thought, to set myself a goal, I just knew I was going to work hard every single day, whatever it was. You kind of did very well at explaining to me, this is what we have to do. This is A, B, and C before we get to D. We can't rush to D. We've got to do A, B, and C before we get there. So I kind of bought into that, and I thought, no, that makes sense. We're not going to rebuild me by doing the same thing I've been doing. It's not going to work. It's not worked. So I need to take a different approach. And I think I just believed in it, and I thought, no, I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to rebuild the way my muscles are, rebuild the way that my mechanics are, and I know that I'm not going to have so many issues once I do that. And I was still doing a few sessions of running in the week as well around what we was doing. So I just found that our sessions were so specific to getting me to where I need to be in the future. It was all about the future for me. It wasn't about today. It wasn't about tomorrow. It's about, you know, in a year and a half, I want to make that team. So all these little steps to that point are going to get me there.
Talk about your goal, your race, and your championship goal. Have a look at this.
So now the women's 800 meters. Very good 17-year-old Briton, Kahisa Malinga, in lane 5. On the outside, lane 8, it's...
So there you go. There you are at the starting lineup for the championship that you had set a goal for almost a year and a half away before it happened. And all your hard work has paid off through the whole rehab that you've done, through all the endurance work that you've done, all the speed and mechanical work that you've done. There you are. It has taken you to that starting line. You are actually in the final. What was the feeling like? What did it mean to you?
It meant everything. I think once I'd qualified to that race, I was like, wow, like everything I set myself out to do, you know, a year and a half actually done. So it just gave me that massive sense of belief that, you know, anything you set your mind to, any goal that you wish to achieve, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. So I think it was the first time I thought, wow, like I can actually do this, you know. And I think it just felt amazing to just like to have gone from, you know, not being able to run a year and a half before to actually being on that start line where I said I was going to be. And with your help, I remember ringing you before the race, like, Stan, how do I run this? Because I'd never done anything like that in my life before. I never made a GB team before that. So I was like, how does this work? So I'd ring you before, like, what happens if I'm at the front? What do I do then? And what happens if I get boxed in? And you was like, Ellie, just relax. Just run. But it was good. It was good to finally feel like, you know, all that hard work and the day in, day out, whatever the weather gave, we was out on the track putting the work in. So it made it all worth it for sure.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to pick you somewhere around the 600-meter mark. Yeah. Ellie Baker, relax.
Baker dictating the pace from the front at the moment, but has Guyon over on her inside and Coira on her outside. Baker just fraction.
Talk to me about your strategy there. I know it's been a while, but you possibly could, remember. You would, as I would recall, you would like to attack from the rear. What was happening here? You seem to be leading the girls and challenging them. Come on, girls, come.
It was a complete mistake, to be honest with you. I think I was so nervous. When the gun went, I just ran. And I fast here. And the next thing I knew, I was at the front. Can you hear me? It just froze a bit.
Yeah. Now you're back. Yeah, there was a bit of a stammer.
Yeah, the next thing I knew, I was at the front. So I think my nerves had just driven me out the block so quickly. I was like, oh no, I'm not meant to be here. But you said to me before the race, whatever position you find yourself in, don't panic, run with it, and just match any pace that comes alongside you. So at that point of the race, I was thinking, right, you're going to get an attack at some point. You're at the front. This is what's going to happen. So I was like, in my head is just go with it. If anyone attacks, you match the pace. They were having to run wide. So yeah, that was kind of the strategy at that point. I was like, I'm at the front now. I've just got to deal with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely wonderful. It's interesting to see both the mental skill set as well as this physical skill set in that race. Because I'm sure you must have been proud of yourself for having put all those, all those components together over the years that you spent time working on just to make that championship.
Yeah,
it was a gateway to your professional career, was it not?
Yeah, definitely. It was basically like the first time I really felt like, this could be what I do, like this could be my career, because up until that point I'd won, school events and things like that, but this was really the most major thing I'd ever done. And to even get there, I was just like, knew that this is what I wanted to do, this is what I want to have more of a taste of. And it was definitely a massive change from that point. I've gone on to like really take it 100%. This is what I'm going to do now.
Right. Now I'm going to take you to the last bit of the race. There, the race is in your bag.
A little bit.
Wow.
Van der Elst coming around the outside doing well, but she's now just started to tire. Koiru trying to get up in contention with the two Britons. Reinhardt as well, working very, very hard, but it's Baker and Malanga away. It's going to be the two Britons. Reinhardt's coming through quickly. Malanga, though, just edged in front at the line. It's Britain 1 and 2.
And that still annoys me to this day. I should be happy, but I'm not. My dad after the race was like, "Yes, you done so well," and I was like, "I didn't win." He was like, "You should be happy. That's such a good achievement." I was like, and then it took me a while to say, no, it is really good, to even get there and then to medal. So you had to bring me back down to earth. But at the time, I was really annoyed. I let the last few meters go.
Yeah. I can appreciate you being annoyed with that. But in reflection, I know you like to analyze your races. What happened in those last few strides? Why did the finish line get away from you? Why was the finish line not coming to you as quickly as it was earlier in the earlier part of the race?
I think what it was is once you're under attack, you just like your mechanics kind of goes out the brain and you're just fighting to the line, rather than if I had just thought, no, keep my style all the way to the end, I would have probably finished a lot stronger. But I think, you sometimes let your emotions get involved and you're trying to get there and then you kind of tire towards the end. But no, yeah, I think I just lost my legs a bit towards the end, to be honest. But yeah, it was a shame, but
yeah. Great lesson there, I'm sure it was, because that's a race. It's not a race you lost, it's a race you gave away.
Yes.
Yeah. And because it was possibly just three strikes, not even strides, 3 steps. That's when it was, Yes, those 3 steps, they became longer as, like you say, you tilted backwards, your form just got up a bit, and so the mechanics became compromised a little bit.
Yeah.
But a little bit enough to miss on the gold.
Yes, it was. I think that's why, because it was so close, that was why it was so upsetting, because I just lost my mechanics towards the end, and I knew I could have, done better than that. But I think I was very tired. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Anyway, well done. About that. I know you have graciously agreed to come back next week, and then we can pick up the post Cruzado race and look at the senior the senior career in transitioning. Not many athletes transition from a junior into a senior. It's a very, very, very murky, period.
Yeah,
and
it's a big step.
getting that very well. So would like to hear that side of the story when you next visit us, which is next week. For now, so what happened post Grosseto, post the under 20 championships? You've got your silver there. What happened within your own training regime, within your own competition, within your own vision board, your plan for, was that, I'm sure it was some kind of confirmation that resulted itself. What did it do to Ellie Baker as a junior athlete, getting that silver medal at the under 20 championships?
Yeah, I think for me to have even made the championships, with the year and a half I'd had previously, I think I was just over the moon at that point. But then once I got there, my competitive spirit, I was like, I want to get something out of this, I want to bring home a medal, and then I will feel, fulfilled and that I was meant to be there. It's not just a fluke. So I think that was like my mentality going into it. Like, I'm not going to just go there to make up the numbers. I want to go there and, really deserve my spot on that team. And I think my mentality for that drove me forward for the future. And I think just give me the belief that I needed to go forward, because, up until that point, I hadn't had an international medal or anything like that. So I was just completely just going with my determination and my belief. Whereas this was actually, no, I've done this now. It's not just belief and not just a dream anymore. I've shown that I can do it, and I just need to keep doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. That. Before we go, I'm going to ask you, if you had to advise other upcoming junior, athletes with international ambitions, and they find themselves in a situation of injury coming in between them and their goal, from based on your own experiences, what 3 points of advice would you give them? To inspire and to inform, inspire them in the process. And I will hear that when we come back after this final water. Yes, Ellie.
Hello.
What would you advise other young athletes, their upcoming juniors that are looking to fulfill and attain their vision for a professional career as seniors, and they find themselves in a situation of injuries, which to an athlete really is not uncommon?
No, yeah. So my first point is don't ever up, because it could be just the 1 or 2 things that you change, and the whole thing changes. You can be winning the races that you once were again, and things like that. But I feel like if you give up, you're doing yourself a disjustice, because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to do better. And I just think the never give up mentality, you're going to get there eventually. If you never give up at something, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And I think if you can show that resilience, then that's going to take you a long way. and that's how you are going to make it into a senior athlete, because you've already shown that you've got that resilience, and you can push yourself when times get hard. It's not all about when the times are easy, because everyone can run well when everything's going well, but it's the times when it's hard that you push through and come out the other side that shows your character.
Yeah. Well, Ellie, you have been very generous with your experiential information and hopefully, inspiration as well for many junior athletes out there. And thank you very much for coming along and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to your second phase of the story, transition as a junior into a senior, because it is a huge challenge, is it not?
Yes, it's a massive leap. It's a complete different level. You go from junior, and it's not easy, but it's a lot easier than when you step up against these girls that are sometimes double your age and sometimes a lot more experienced, and they've been in the game for a lot longer than you, and it's about stepping up and making that transition. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I'm in the process of really making the transition to the senior rankings. That's the aim, to make a senior team.
Well, what's left for me, Ellie, is to once again thank you and to say on that note, bye from me.
Bye. It's nice to speak with you.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yes, see you next week.
Great show,
Thanks
great show.
for having me.